Lees-Galloway.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to take a call, but I have to say I'm surprised I didn't see any of the government members on their feet seeking to take a call, particularly the Honourable Tau Henare, who has made such a lot of noise from the other side of the House, wanting to hear all the different perspectives. He wanted to hear the Māori perspective. He could have gotten up on his feet and given us his perspective, but he preferred not to. I'll take that glass of water if you want to bring it over. But he's got nothing to say, but he will bring me a glass of water. You're a gentleman, sir. Thank you very much. But Mr. Chair, Clause 5, as my colleague Sue Moroney has said, Clause 5, somewhat like the Purpose Clause, sort of really gets to the heart of what this bill is about, and it does actually put to rest once and for all the last will and testament of George Parr. But that is not to say, by any stretch of the imagination, that this piece of legislation would in any way, I think, upset Mr Parr or annoy Mr Parr, because it is a continuation of his. It's a continuation of his legacy. It's not. Well, Mr. Tau asked how it's possible. I said it wouldn't. If he was still with us today, he would not be upset by this piece of legislation, because George Parr, unlike this government, unlike those members over on that side of the House making so much noise, George Parr had a plan. That's exactly right. George Parr had a plan. He wanted to see New Zealand going forwards, and he had a plan for the economy in New Zealand, and he had a plan for New Zealand society as well, because he was a visionary. Economically, he wanted to see passenger rail services between Hamilton and Auckland. I'd love to know when he was advocating for that, but I bet it was around about the turn of the 20th century. And here we are in the 21st century, and the national government still doesn't want to see that plan go ahead, because they have no plan for the economy in New Zealand. Mr Parr also wanted to see the water from the Waikato River being linked to Waiuku. Waiuku, actually the town where I grew up. It would have been very useful. Would have been very useful if Waiuku had that linked to a water supply from the Waikato River back when George Parr was advocating for it. There was a man with a plan. There was some vision, the kind of vision that sadly is absolutely lacking from the members opposite, barracking and making so much noise on the government benches tonight. But he didn't just have a plan for the economy, he had a plan for his society as well. He wanted to give back to his community. He was a man who was interested in his community, and that's why he gave back not only the land in Parana Park back to the community, so that it was a public asset that the public would be able to enjoy, not to be hopped off some foreign investment company. It was there for the public of Hamilton to enjoy. And not only that, but he had an interest in children's health and well-being, because he set up a children's convalescent home at Parana Park. So there was a man who wanted to see good things happening in his community. He didn't want to see frontline health services cut. No, he didn't. He wanted to put a children's convalescent. This has got everything to do with the bill, Mr Bennett, because this is what George Parr wanted to see happen. And we are changing the use of the land that George Parr gave back to the community. So we need to talk about what George Parr wanted to see happen. And he was a man who wanted to see good quality frontline health services for his community. He wasn't out of touch with ordinary Kiwis in the way this government is. This government is completely out of touch. He wanted to support ordinary Kiwis who were struggling to make ends meet, and he did that by providing an asset that everybody was able to use. Would this government do this? No way. No way. That's not the way this government operates. They wouldn't have touched it with a barge pole, because this government isn't working for you. It isn't working for normal New Zealanders. It's working for its mates and foreign interests, the people it would have sold this land to if it had a chance. That's what this government is about, and George Parr wouldn't have wanted to touch them with a barge pole. He wouldn't have had a bar of it. He was a man who wanted to see his success as a farmer, as a Waikato farmer. He wanted to see his success shared with the community, and that's why he vested this land in his community and handed it over to the Hamilton City Council. And this piece of legislation solidifies that, it ensures it, it makes sure that George Parr's legacy will be respected and honoured by the people of Hamilton.
I call Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr Chair. My colleague Ian Lee